Hi, I am Shayla Zimmerman, and I'm going to be teaching a lesson today called Collaborative Strategic Reading. This is for third grade, and the objective is that students will be able to coordinate strategies to guide comprehension. The materials needed for this lesson are copies of the Pioneers on the Oregon Trail reading, and this lesson will take about an hour, and the students can be in groups of pairs, in small groups, or it can be taught as a class as a whole. The prerequisites are the vocabulary strategy, the introducing vocabulary, and the practicing vocabulary strategies, and QAR and summarizing strategies. So this is the CSR strategy chart, which stands for Collaborative Strategic Reading. So there are 4 things a reader does before reading, while reading, and after reading. So before reading, we preview, and this is where you scan over the reading, brainstorm what you already know on the topic of the reading, and then predict what you think you're going to learn in the reading. And during the reading, this is where you click and clunk, and this is meaning you get the gist. This is where you get the gist, and after the reading is where you wrap up. So you're going to ask and answer questions and review what you've already learned. So, with that said, gone over that chart, collaborative means working together, and strategic reading is a plan or strategy for understanding and remembering what you've read. So, we went over the 4 main strategies and these are what's going to help you understand and learn during the reading of our text. So, again, it's preview. We're going to look at it again. Preview, click and clunk, and the wrap up. The 4 things. So, now I'm going to hand out the copies of the Pioneers on the Oregon Trail to all of you. And I'm going to use the first 2 sections of this reading to model how to use SCR strategies. So, before reading, we're going to preview. And good readers preview a selection before reading it. And previewing has 3 steps. And these 3 steps are scanning the text. So we've got that down. And brainstorming what you already know on the topic. And predicting what you're going to learn next. So those are the 3 things. Scan, brainstorm, predict. Scan, brainstorm, predict. That is the 3 things you're going to do previewing before you read. So, the next step is the click and clunk, getting the gist. Over here. Click and clunk, getting the gist. So, when you're reading, you want to actively monitor your comprehension as you're reading. So be thinking about what you're reading while you're reading it, so you can make sure what you're understanding and maybe what you're not understanding. And then we're going to use the appropriate strategies to help us understand the things that we don't understand. And in the SCR process, this is click and clunk. So so that's what you do during reading, is making sure you're understanding, you're noting what you understand and what you don't understand. And then some examples of clunk is like if you didn't understand the word territory. Well, territory means, the definition of territory is a big area of land. And so that's something you would want to write down and record. Backtracking a little bit, I'm going to give you some examples of brainstorming. So brainstorming, some examples of brainstorming is that pioneers traveled in covered wagons. I know that. And pioneers traveled from east to west. Some examples of predictions. So my predictions that I think I'm going to learn about the pioneers' journey, what the journey was like, and how and what the pioneers packed. And if your predictions, if you find out they're wrong, that's okay. It's okay if we don't have the right predictions, because they're just predictions. And so for the next section is after reading the, oh wait, no, I skipped. Oh, we need to get the gist. Get the gist and during the reading. So, good readers can identify the most important ideas and what they are reading. So they can shrink the information into a paragraph with the main idea statement telling the most important idea. That would be a gist statement of the reading text. It's kind of like a one-sentence summary. That's what a gist is. So, in CSR, the paragraph shrinking process is called get the gist. Right over here. Get the gist. And we've already learned about paragraph shrinking, and we're going to use the steps of paragraph shrinking to get to the gist of the first paragraph in this text. So, the first paragraph, I'm going to reread the first paragraph to you in The Way of the West. And I'm going to identify who or what the paragraph is mostly about, as an example for you. The main who or what in this paragraph is Lewis and Clark. And now I'm going to identify the most important information about the who or what. And I think the most important information about Lewis and Clark is that they explored the territory west of the Mississippi, describing it in maps and journals. And finally, I'm going to shrink that information into a really good main idea statement of 10 words or less. So one sentence. So here is my main idea statement or gist. Lewis and Clark were first to explore the territory west of the Mississippi. So my one sentence gist, again, of this reading is Lewis and Clark were first to explore the territory west of the Mississippi. Another example of a gist sentence is people traveled west hoping to make their dreams come true. And another example of a gist is the pioneers could fit only necessary things in the covered wagons. So those are some examples of gist of this reading. And finally, after the reading, for wrapping up, down here, very last thing, has 2 parts. So we want to ask and answer questions and review what we have learned. So for this part, I want you guys to ask and answer questions about the reading, questions that you may know or that you didn't know. And then I want you to review over what you've learned with your elbow partner sitting next to you. So, okay, so now moving on to the next step. I'm going to assign you to a partner, and you are going to construct a preview of the last page of the Reading a Day on the Trail and the end of the trail. And so remember, first I want you to follow your CSR chart, and I want you, before the reading preview, I want you to scan the reading, and then I want you to brainstorm what you already know in this reading, and then I want you to predict what you think you're going to learn in this reading. And then, and I want you to write down the things that you do know in this reading, and also your predictions. So, and remember, you're going to be doing this with a partner, and some examples of what you might connect to while brainstorming is you might already know a little bit about camping in the wilderness. So you might know some things of a day on the trail or the end of the trail, because it kind of sounds like they're going to be staying out in the wilderness for a few days. So, and let's see. And you might be able to predict what you learn about daily routines of the pioneers and what it was like once they reached the end of that trail. So I'm going to assign you to your partners, and we're going to get started. Sarah and Tegan, you are going to have a more challenging text since you are my tag students. And Raphael and Samantha, you are going to be working together since you are my ELL students with a easier text to read. And then Emily is going to work one-on-one with me because she struggles in reading, and her reading score is much lower than the rest of the class, and we're going to have a simpler text that we use for this. And that's the end of my lesson. Thank you.